Hey, you guys. We're back for part two of the challenge, which I kind of made up. This isn't out of the book, but I thought it would be harder. So let's look at it. We want to write a method called 50 days apart, which takes the same parameters, which are a month and a day and a month and a day, and returns whether or not those two dates are 50 or more days apart. This is challenging because a certain number of months have 31 days, some have 30, or one of them has 28. So that's what makes this so hard. But let's go ahead and kind of get started and see how this isn't so bad after all. Here's the general strategy. I went ahead and kind of started this. It's called 50 days apart. There are the parameters. So here's the strategy. I want to convert every date into a total number of days into the year. Then I want to compare those two numbers. If far enough apart, return true. Otherwise, return false. Now, far enough apart is 50 days. Okay, so let's take a look. What we want to do is convert these days, or each date, into a total number of days in the year. So let's see if we can fit this in 10 minutes or less. So I'm going to do big picture first. Now, it seems like it's going to be a function that determines the total number of days into the year we are. So I'm going to sort of pretend like I have that function, and I'll build it later. So let's call this date 1 total days. And it's going to be the result of a function called get total days. Haven't built this yet, but that's okay. And I'd like to pass in month 1 and day 1 so that it comes back with the total number of days into the year I am. Then I'm going to do that for date 2. I'm going to change all the 1s to 2s. So assuming that I have built this function correctly, I can then just return whether or not their absolute difference is going to be 50 or greater, right? So it's going to be date 1 total days. I can do it in reverse order since it's an absolute value, right? There you go. So if their absolute difference is greater than or equal to 50, then they're far enough apart to return true. If they're too close together, this would evaluate to false, and I would return false. So this is the big picture idea. Now we just need to write this sub function. And you can tell it's a good idea to write this as a sub function. Otherwise, we'd have to write the same loop twice, right? That's kind of wasting space, and it's kind of not good practice. So let's use this shortcut. It's going to create the stub for me, and there it is. It doesn't matter. This could be public or private for now. We'll get into that topic later in the year. So let's go ahead and then figure out the strategy. I've kind of written this down as a visual. January has 31, February has 28, and so on. So what I want to do then is keep track of the total days. What I want to do is definitely consider the days that I already have. Let's call these parameters month and day so they're not so specific. I want to consider the day, like let's say I'm on March 31st. March 21st, for example. I want to take those 21 days and then also add on the days from January and February. Okay, so I want to sort of loop through this system here and then add on all the days up till one before the month that I'm on. So if I'm in March, for example, I want the 21 days in March that I have, so I assign that, plus these 31 days, plus these 28 days. So, or if I'm in September, for example, September 14th, I want those 14 days in September that I have, so I get them. And then I grab all these days leading up to September. So let's start a for loop then. I'm going to begin at 1 this time. Kind of unconventional, but it's going to help us kind of visualize this. And I want I to run up. As long as it's less than the month that we're in, then we're good to go. So we're never going to actually add on the actual month because I has to stay less than the month. So this kind of takes care of, I has to be less than the month that we're in. We want to add on those days. So here we go. Now I want to consider all the months, not months with 31 days. And I also want the months with 30 days. And then I want February because that's the weirdo. So what are the months with? So basically, if we're in the iteration of the loop where we're in January or March or May, right? Then we want to add on 31. So what are those numbers? So it's an if. If we're in January or if we're in, let's see here. I'm just going to save myself some time and copy paste. think there's like 7 different months that have this. And I'm going to go down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This should be good. I will change these. Let's see. So which months have 31 days? The 3rd month, the 5th month, 7th and 8th months, the 10th month, and the 12th month. So these have 31 days. So let's take total days and update it. It'll look very, very similar for the other one. So it's going to be like an else if. I'm going to put it under here. Not nearly as many. I think there's only like 5 of them. And they're going to be 30 days. So what are the 30-day months? It's month 4, month 6, month 9, and month 11. Otherwise, we're in February, and we just want to add on 28. All right, let's make sure I didn't screw up here. Those are the months with 31 days. Let's make sure. 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 12. I'm looking up there. That's right. What about 4, 6, 9, and 11 for 30s? I got them all, I believe. Yep, that's all of them. Okay, then at the end of this process, after the loop is done, after the loop is completed, this bracket, I want to return the total days. Okay, so now we've written the guts of this function, get total days. Now I think this is ready to test. So let's go up here and test it. Sys out. And it's called 50 days. Let's try something that's definitely really far apart, like January 1st and September 14th. That should definitely come back as true. And it does. Let's try something that's really close together, like January 1st and January 14th. Okay, they're too close together. What about something that's kind of like sort of close? So I'm trying to figure out if there's a bug in here. These are far enough apart. What's exactly 50 days from January 1st? Exactly 50 days. So 30 days from here would be January 31st. 20 more would be February 20th. So if I say February 20th, that's exactly 50 days. It should still come back true. But if I go to the 19th, then I'm only 49 days apart. I should get false, and I do. So let's try some other months to make sure we're good. What about like October 1st and February 19th? So remember, this is non-chronological, but that's fine. The method should handle that. They're really far apart, so that should work. What about like, so October again has 31 days, so let's do 50 days. So it should be November 19th should come back false because that's only 49 days apart. But November 20th should come back true. Okay, let's try just a couple more. What about February 1st, because February is kind of weird. And 28 days, let's see, 27 days past February 1st is February 28th. And then I need 23 more. So March 23rd is exactly 50 days. But March 22nd is too small. So this algorithm looks like it works. So that's kind of big picture, and then we'll kind of close the door on this problem and have a weekend here. So let's take a look. 50 days apart takes in the 2 days, and the strategy is to convert the days into total number of days into the year. So I pretended like I had this function available to me because I wanted to stay big picture. I said, okay, I have date 1 total days. I have date 2 total days. If they're big enough apart, if their absolute difference was greater than or equal to 50, this would evaluate to true, and I'd get true as my answer. If it was too small, it would evaluate as false and return false. So what about this function get total days? Well, here's the idea. You're going to immediately consider the number of days into the month you are. You get those for free. And then you want to add up all the days in the months previous. Okay, so we started on January, and then we ran up till I was as big as 1 less than the month that we're in. Okay, just less than the month that we're in. So let's say we're in September. It would go get everything up till 8. Okay, depending on what month through the loop you are, you're going to add on a different number of days. So there's your strategy. Sometimes sub functions can be really nice. If we didn't have this sub function, get total days, we would have had to write this entire structure twice inside the main loop, and that's just a waste of space. So look for opportunities to write sub functions. Okay, let's go have a weekend, you guys. I'll see you on Monday, and happy coding.